All right, today we are going to take a look at a cool new toy slash tool, whatever you want to call it, and they are also the sponsor for today's video, which is Ortur. They make this cool laser, and they sent me this to review it and to see what it can do and to show you guys some of its awesome capabilities. This right here is the newest diode laser cutter from Ortur. It can cut thin material and it can engrave a whole lot of stuff, and they sent it to me so I could do a review of it, so I could check it out, so I could share the cool stuff it does with it. And I am going to get to all of that. But first, just a little bit of information about lasers, which will explain the first thing that we do in this video. These laser cutters and engravers are powerful. That's how they work. They are magnitudes of power stronger than the little handheld pointer lasers. This one is not even terribly powerful as engraving and cutting lasers go, but it's still probably 2,000 times stronger than the little red dot laser you can point to stuff. And along with that, there are some safety precautions that need to happen. You can see that this laser is a frame. It doesn't come in a completely enclosed box. And as a result of that, there are some things you need to be very aware of to use it safely. The first is obviously don't stick any body parts into the frame while it's moving. One, because you don't want to squish your finger in a gear, but two, because you don't want any laser to hit it, whether directly or indirectly. The other concern is the danger to your eyes. This kind of laser could be dangerous to your eyes, even reflecting off of something that's not very shiny. So if you've got a good solid look at something while it's being cut or engraved by the laser, that could be enough to cause damage to your eyes. There are some safety things that it comes with. There is a shield around the point where it's engraving everything to try and make it really hard to see that little dot of light. It also comes with some glasses that are specifically designed to block this wavelength of laser light. And those are great and they help a lot, but I wanted to take the safety of this to just one more level. So I'm actually going to be building a box to go around the whole laser before I use it to show off what it can do. So I built this frame, which you can see it's not yet a box. This is about to turn into a box. And I had a few specific things in mind. The biggest one, of course, is to stop any stray laser light from going anywhere. If it hits something reflective or even just a little bit shiny, I don't want that light getting shot out into the world where it might burn something or hurt my eyes. So I will be adding panels all the way around the box. Got 4 side panels that I'll be attaching. Then, of course, I want to be able to see inside it. So I have here what is clearly a lid, obviously. And that is going to sit right there. You can see it's still got these 2 big holes in the top. Now those aren't going to stay holes. I have 2 pieces of amber colored acrylic. This stuff is 1/4 inch thick and it's a wavelength that this laser can't pass through easily. You can see it's the same color as the glasses, and that's going to be on top of the lid. So I'll be able to see in there, but laser light won't really be able to get out. Because there's several cables coming out of this corner, I'm just going to remove a corner of this panel so it has a little gap down here. I'm not really worried about any laser light bouncing up, around, down, and then over. So I don't think that's going to cause any problems for safety, and it will allow all the cords and cables to come out the way we need them to. Additionally, I am planning to slightly future-proof this box, and so to make it so that I can later add a vent, I'm going to drill a hole into this piece of board here. It's going to be kind of down near the bottom. That's just going to be somewhere where I can put a hose to pull air through here to cycle it, so I'm not going to have too much smoke building up in there or anything. I'm not planning to build the vent fan for it today. Mostly we're just going to be letting there be a little bit of airflow and have a strong fan blowing out of a window, and we're not going to be burning too much stuff that makes really terrible smoke today. But I am going to do that just so I don't have to try and drill it later once it's already installed on the box. Looking good. I'm gonna throw a couple hinges on here. All right, so we have a lid, it opens, we've got orange, it's safer. Again, you don't want to use just this to look into it. You still want to wear the glasses because you only got one pair of eyes, but this is really to make it so you can see what's going on in there, and if there is any stray laser light, it's gonna be mitigated quite a bit by the amber plastic. Now that we've got that, it's time to see what this laser can do. I've got a little piece of wood. I'm gonna put that down in the machine, and I'm just gonna burn Nate from the internet. I'm gonna put that on there so you can see how it looks and watch a little bit of the process of how it goes. I'm gonna be using a program on my computer called Lightburn to set it up. There's multiple programs you can use. This is just one that I think is fairly easy to use in terms of getting everything set up and interfacing with the machine. So I've got the piece of wood in there, and I've used a tiny bit of electrical tape to secure it in place because there is a fan that's always blowing to cool the laser diode. And that fan does output enough air that something really lightweight like this thin, light piece of wood can get moved around. So I'd use electrical tape. Electrical tape doesn't burn or light on fire if it does happen to get hit by the laser, so I think it's a pretty good way to secure it. And let's get this thing engraving. One other note really quick. When they sent me the machine, they also sent me this. This is an air assist. So this box is an air pump. It sends air out through this little rubber tube, which is going into the machine, and it's actually this tube right here going in at the top. And that's actually helping add a little jet of air onto where the laser's going. That stops as much like residue, soot, ash, whatever's gonna be the result of the material being burned from getting in the way. So the laser always has like the cleanest shot at the material. And it's not a huge difference, but I think it really helps it get just a slightly cleaner result and go a little bit faster. Plastic is doing a really good job of blocking all the purple light. It's decently fast. I've used multiple laser engravers in the past at jobs that I worked. Some were very high-end, some were older and a little more run down. And I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the speed that this machine has for getting the result that it does. I've used some much bigger, fancier, more expensive CO2 type lasers that I think were slower than this. So it's really cool that you can get this kind of result using the diode laser, that you can get like a nice clean, a deep etch, a really good color burn onto stuff, and that it will go this fast. Right, our little wood plaque is finished engraving. Take a look at this. So that did not take long at all, just a few minutes, and like it cut down into the wood nicely, it colored it. All of the lines are really nice and clean. It is really calm. You can kind of see the letters almost have a shadow. That's from like the smoke and fumes coming off of the wood moving right away. It turned out really nicely, and like I said, it went really quick. So pretty impressed with this thing. Let's see if I can clean up the surface of this just a little bit. So that ghosting that I was talking about, the sort of drop shadow that was put in, that is just on the very, very surface of the wood. And so I just hit that with the lightest of sanding with 400 grit sandpaper just to take that off. And now we just have nice, clean letters, no ghosting. It's just right where we wanted it engraved. So in addition to scribing my name into a little piece of wood, I did another piece of wood to test. Bigger, thicker, blockier letters. Again, turned out well. I made a coaster with a dragon on it. This is a bamboo coaster. I do think it's interesting that the different, like it's pieces of bamboo glued together, and it's interesting that the different striations of bamboo seem to take the burning better. So obviously this is the kind of thing you want to test with and see what results are going to get you the most, correct all around results. That might just be something that happens with bamboo. I don't think I've ever tried it before, but this still looks pretty freaking cool. So the machine is doing great with the engraving, but I do want to try cutting. So what I've got here is some 1/8 inch masonite. This is a particle board. It's held together with glue. And I actually really like using this stuff for testing profiles of knife designs. So if I have a design I think is going to be good, I cut out of this, or I cut out of this, and then that's what I use to trace every other time I'm going to make that knife in metal. So I'll cut it out and then I'll put it on a piece of metal, draw around it. There you go. So I'm going to use some of this stuff. I'm going to try and cut out the profile of a knife, and it's actually going to have a little bit more detail than I usually do because it's also going to have some parts in the handle where I would cut out for pinholes and weight reduction. So we're going to see how that works and get this thing going. There you go, that cut through beautifully. Yep, all the little pieces, the weight reduction things I was talking about in the handle. This one's So that one was stuck, not because the machine did something wrong, that was user error. You can see this extra burn spot. Before I started cutting out the shape, I accidentally had selected like a raster, like I was gonna turn the whole thing black, like I was trying to draw this picture of the knife. I stopped that after it had gone that much, and then I switched it over to the correct setting, and it did a great job cutting it out. But where it had burned it so badly, I think it wasn't able to cut through quite as well in that one spot. So everything else worked flawlessly. We've got these nice smooth cuts, high detail all the way around, and then the spot where I messed up. But that did a good job. It was quick. It's extremely accurate to the shape that I draw on the computer, just because it transfers over perfectly. So I really like how that turns out, and it does a really good job of making something quickly that I can test, like, hey, does that feel good in the hand? Do I have the size right? Anything I need to change? And I know that it's going to be just like what I drew. I've had a lot of times in the past where I would print that shape out, I would put it on Masonite, I would cut it out and sand it to shape, and I can do a good job of following that. But this, I know, is what I put into the computer, and this is great. Look at that. This is one of the coolest things about a diode laser. It can engrave into steel. This isn't just a mark on the surface. This is like etched in there. Let me see if you can get that. That is my fingernail on the etching sound. Like, it is engraved into the steel. So the lasers I said I'd used before, CO2 lasers, I'm pretty sure I could have set those at maximum power, minimum speed, and they couldn't have gotten through a gum wrapper that had metal foil on the back. Something about the frequency or the power that they use, it's just terrible with metal. But this, it just cuts right into the steel. Now, it's not very deep. I don't think I could ever cut through this piece of metal, but I can mark on the surface. And for knife making, that is exactly what I want to be able to do. So I'm gonna do another test. I'm going to put a logo right on this knife, and I'm gonna use the laser to engrave it. And now I'm just going to level the laser, or focus level the laser. So you have to have the laser just the right distance away from whatever it is you're cutting or engraving. And it has a little system built right into it. You just loosen the whole module, and then you lower this arm, and you make it touch whatever it is you're going to be engraving, and then you lock it into place and pop that arm back up, and that's it. Now it's focused in the right spot. Hawker Knives, the brand I came up with for the knives that I make and sometimes remember to sell, has a nice little logo with an H and a wing coming off of it, so I'm going to engrave that logo into this stainless steel knife. Let's see, we gotta slow this thing way down. We gotta go for maximum power. And we're gonna go, let's go for 2 passes. And we've got it set to a 0.05 millimeter interval. That's how far it moves up for each line. And I think that should do a pretty good job. I'm putting the speed at 1/10 that, so 200 millimeters instead of 2000, and I put the power all the way to the maximum. So we're not cutting it exactly the same way we did with the wood, but that's what you do. You adjust the speed and the power to get the best result for the material you are using. Let's try this. Here we go. I don't actually know how much difference that's going to make on metal, because I don't think there's nearly as much stuff coming off of it. It's obviously not going to have as much material disappear as wood does, but can't hurt. And like I said, I did set it to 2 passes, so it's going to do the whole thing, and then it's going to go back to the beginning and just do the whole thing a second time. All right, knife is finished. Let's see how it did. Ooh, okay, so it's got some of that same ghosting that the wood had. I'm gonna see what happens if it just came off on my finger. I touched it and it rubbed right off, so never mind. I was gonna say I'm gonna try like a magic eraser sponge and see if it rubs. It sticks to the wood and you had to sand it off. Comes right off on my finger. Oh, that looks so good. Ah, I love it. Look at this. It is clean. The detail is excellent. And it's like dark, like it is blackened, which is kind of hard to get on stainless steel. It's called stainless steel for a reason. It's not actually completely impervious to stains, but it stains a lot less than non-stainless steel. So the fact that it turns it that dark while giving you that nice and clean of lines. Like, I really like that. There are other ways to do this. I've done like electrochemical etching to get logos onto knives, but I like this better. Like, that is so crispy, you know? Just like, oh, it's perfect. And you know, you don't have to worry about whether your chemicals bleed a little bit and if they're gonna run onto the other parts of the knife. You just put your logo on, boom, done. Now, this is not terribly deep. I only did a couple of passes on this, whereas with the dog tag, I was doing smaller and I did more passes and I got more of an etch, but it did still engrave down into it, at least a little bit, and it blackened it beautifully, so I'm so happy with this. I definitely want to experiment more with this in the future, including like maybe doing some decorative work on the knife. I have seen some people who have done decorative laser work on knife blades, and it can look really good, so I'm very excited to play around with this more. This laser is doing just a phenomenal job of everything I was hoping it would. It cuts into the wood, it engraves, it marks onto steel. This is exactly what I was hoping. So, guys, this thing is really cool. They are the sponsor for this video, but I'm not just saying it because they're the sponsor. Like, I genuinely am so glad that I have this thing. It's, you know, just an arsenal of another tool in the tool belt, and just being able to do this on something so unforgiving as stainless steel and get that good of a result, I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, guys, that is it. That is my beginning experiments with the Ortur Laser Master 3. Loving this thing. It is super fun. Can't wait to use it more. If you have things you want to see me try with it, please let me know down in the comments, because I'm definitely going to do more stuff with this in the future, and I would love your ideas. If you are interested in getting one of these awesome machines, head on down to the description, and there's a link there, and you can use the code that we have to get a discount on your very own machine. This thing is going to be a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for watching and for all of your support. If you would like to give me a like and subscribe and all that good stuff, that'd be great. And of course, a very special thank you shout out to our supporters on Patreon. Without you, we could not do what we do. It makes the world of difference. The link for that is also down in the description, and we'll see you all next time.